Yeah, my check, sir.
Say it again.
Okay. Yeah, we're good, sir. So I think we're on time. We're just back up.
I can't hear you.
From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Well, hello, good afternoon, Kern County, and welcome back to our board session, our 2 p.m. board session. Kathy Kay, roll call, please.
Supervisor Gleason calling in from Ridgecrest. Thank you. Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Thank you. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you very much. We had a slight technical difficulty this morning, but we had perfect participation by both supervisors in closed session. We thank you, of course, for that, and we are moving right along here. No problems. Thank you. County Council, good afternoon. County Council, will you please report out on actions taken in closed session?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members. This morning you met on 3 items in closed session under the County Administrative Office. Those would be items 48, 49, and 50. Under the County Council subagenda, you met on items 51, 52, 53, and 54. However, there is no reportable action.
Thank you, Ms. Rizan. Again, as mentioned at our 9 o'clock session, the County of Kern provided notice that as a result of the declared federal, state, and local emergencies due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and in light of the governor's order, the Board of Supervisors meeting is not physically open to the public. Testimony and general public comment can be given through email or telephone to the clerk of the board prior to today's meeting. We will begin by considering the consent agenda. All items listed with a capital C, capital A are considered to be routine and non-controversial by staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the board or public wishes to comment or ask questions. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item or items on consent, they may do so prior to a vote being taken on consent. A member of the board may remove any item from consent and it will be considered in its listed sequence, with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. A member of the public may also comment on any closed session item. Consent matters begin on page 2, and they include item 3 on page 2. On page 3, items 5, 6, and 8 through 10. Item 7 has been pulled from consent and will be heard in its listed sequence. On page 4, items 11 through 15. On page 5, items 16 through 21. On page 6, items 22 through 28. Page 7, items 29 through 34. Page 8, items 35 through 40. Madam Clerk, what do we have by way of public comment?
Madam Chair, members of the board, we have public comment on consent agenda item number 34. First, we're going to play a voice message from Lily Parker.
Lily Parker, Lilli, last name Parker, P as in Paul, Arker, calling in regards to the Board of Supervisors, agenda item 34 at the 2 p.m. meeting. I am asking if the Board of Supervisors would consider a stay for the bids or for the purchase of the Veterans Hall there on California and Owen Street. It is a part of my history and so many young people that grew up in our neighborhood. It was a place where we could go at Christmas and Easter, New Year's, and have breakfast and be given bags of fruit, nuts, games, toys, and it made a difference and an impact in our lives. Please put a hold or a stay on that property. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, we also have a caller on the line who would like to make comment on item number 34. Emma De La Rosa. Ms. De La Rosa, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you may address the board.
Can you
Good afternoon, County Board of Supervisors. My name is Emma de la Rosa. I'm a policy advocate with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. I'm here today in regards to item 34. Kern County is rich in history. Our community continues a legacy of historical landmarks and objects for the next generation to learn and hold dear as part of their identities. However, Kern County has not excelled in sharing and sustaining the rich history of our Black veteran community. The two properties which are on the agenda today, 999 East California Avenue and 1016 South Owen Street, hold historical significance, and it's important to preserve and share the legacy and history of Kern County Black veterans for generations to come. We respectfully urge the board, especially our Supervisor Perez, to work with the City of Bakersfield to purchase the property and preserve for our Black community. We hope to see your support for Black U.S. veterans in our community and collaborate with the city to preserve its rich history. Today, I would like to ask for the commitment of the Board of Supervisors to work with the city so that the city can please purchase this property. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes public comment on consent agenda items.
Thank you. I'll tell you, I'm really happy to hear so much interest in this region and some of the exciting things that are happening there. I think that is a good thing. And as we are moving along with the city and coming up with a plan that works for the community, I think it helps to have input like this. So I want to say thank you for the interest and the passion for a region that has been largely ignored, like many, many parts of any community. This is one of ours. So we are happy and excited to see momentum building there. And that is never a perfect process, of course. Anytime you have more than one person, there's usually some disagreement. So that's normal. We're working through it, and I'm excited about it. Can I ask Jeff Hill if you would mind coming down and making a brief response? We've had a couple of callers. That's a lot for one agenda item. I think it's reflective of a larger and broader interest in this subject. I appreciate your expertise, Jeff, and the work that you've been doing there. And we'd love a quick update from you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, quick update is that we, according to, as previously authorized by your board, we held a public hearing to receive bids for the piece of property. We received no bids. Today's item is just reporting back to your board that we've received no bids and there is no further action requested except to receive and file this. Further back up a little bit, we have talked to a couple of developers who've talked to us over the course of this process, as well as the City of Bakersfield. Nobody showed up to submit bids, so at this point, I don't have any direction to proceed with disposing of the property further. So we're open to anybody who has ideas, including the board. And the City of Bakersfield. Thank
you, Jeff. It's a complicated issue, one in which we haven't really spent a lot of time on in recent history, so sort of a lot of stuff's bubbling up. It has been important to my office and the various African-American leaders that we have worked with in that area that feel very passionately about this remaining sort of, in the influence of those community members and, their values and their vision for that community. And that's certainly a priority of ours as we move forward with the new councilman who is going to be sworn in this week, and we will think about the many, many ways in which we can honor that community and make real good use of that property. I don't know what that's going to look like. That's not my expertise, but certainly we are committed to that project. I appreciate all that you have done to put some folks from that project to work on our low barrier navigation center, Jeff. So hats off to you for that. I appreciate that engagement. And it's okay to have a little tension, Jeff. I think that's normal between human beings. And I think good things can come of such tension. So I look forward to the continued conversation, recognizing that different people's opinions are their own, and we'll certainly listen to them. But we're moving in a way that we believe is going to be beneficial to that community. And I appreciate your role in it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Kathy?
Madam Chair, it would be appropriate to approve the consent agenda at this time.
Thank you.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you, gentlemen. Our supervisors are on call. Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Gleason?
Aye.
Supervisor Scribner,
Aye.
Supervisor Maggard,
Yes.
Supervisor Couch,
Yes.
Supervisor Perez.
Yes, thank you.
All ayes, motion carried.
Okay, very good. This brings us to our public presentations, and this is an opportunity for members of the public to provide input, ask questions, give direction to staff on matters that are not on today's agenda, but are within the jurisdiction of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. So, Kathy?
Madam Chair, members of the board, we have two speakers who would like to address the board under public presentations. We're going to ask Sky Dent to unmute her phone by pressing *6. Ms. Dent, you have 2 minutes to address the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
We sure can. Good afternoon and welcome.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk fast so I can get in under my 2 minutes. I'm a resident of Bakersfield. I'm a former Star Trek writer. I created the J Student White House Invitational, and I currently teach at Columbia University. Obviously, you know about the uptick in COVID deaths and suicides of young Latino males in Kern County. So when I read that the county was providing free $25 Visa cards to people who took the test for 4 days last week, I told many young men in hopes that the monetary enticement might encourage them to take the test and get the $25 card that would help buy groceries for their families. None of the articles in the newspaper or on air said that one required a reservation. So I was surprised when I arrived at one of the sites, Good Samaritan Hospital, last Monday, the first day, and was rejected. They said that one needed all reservations were filled out until Thursday, December 3, which was the day the delivery of the cards was going to end. So none of the young men I called could get the test or gift card. I managed to get a reservation for last Thursday. There I was treated in a very racist manner by a woman who I would call Black Bun Chick because I don't want to make her name public. I sat in my car in line for about 15 minutes. Like everyone else in line, I texted or talked on my cell phone while waiting. But when I got to the front of the line, Black Bun Chick grilled me and accused me of videotaping her. I pointed out that there were 6 overhead cameras taping me, and that generally state law says that I have the right to record video in all public places without need of consent, even though I wasn't taping. She left and came back to have me sign a form with questions about my race, sex, and sexuality. When I asked why she needed my sexuality, she said she did not know. One of the questions also asked if I had been in contact with anyone who had COVID, but there was only a yes box, not a no box. I asked about that because that implied that she could fill it in herself after it was over. Then after the test, which was more physically different, strange, and painful than COVID tests at other locations, she wanted me to initial another form. My name was about 20 rows below the previous test takers. There was nothing on the other 20 people's line. But next to mine in print, she had written a lie that I had videotaped her. She said if I did not sign it, I would not get my results. I asked how I would get the results. Other places emailed results for security reasons. She said Good Samaritan would not do that. They would just call. When I said I wanted to make a complaint, she said go to the tent. There was no tent. Eventually, I found a nice person who took my complaint but is not called back. Clearly, I called all of the young people who I had encouraged to get tested and told them to avoid Good Samaritan Hospital. It's been 5 days since the test. Other places mailed them within 3 days. No word from Good Samaritan. I wish to thank the staff people with the Board of Supervisors. They have been very helpful and supportive. I hope the board will investigate just who at Good Samaritan received the gift cards, fine-tune their method of testing, and remove Black Bun Chicks from further contact with minority members of the public.
Thank you for your call, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kathy, who else do we have?
Madam Chair, Mr. Art Schaefer is on the line. He provided your board with some documentation back in October and asked that I provide that to you today while he speaks. So in front of you, you have his October submission. Mr. Schaefer, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you have 2 minutes to address the board.
Thank you. I already spoke 2 times saying that I'm being tortured, and unfortunately you do nothing. My supervisor joined the chorus of those who call me crazy, and he does nothing. And this is why I submitted to you the paper that says, the paper from the whistleblower who describes this torture program from within the government. Please look at it. I spoke on October 6th, and the perpetrators broke the car, damaged it. I spoke on October 13th, and they destroyed my health. My pee was coming with the blood. I don't know what they will do now. I'm requesting the meeting with the sheriff and health director, and I would like you to do something. This is a horror. You proclaim United States highest level of democracy, and you torture people. According to the internet, 1 million people are being tortured. So do something. I expect you to protect me. Please give me a reply. I was trying to see Madam Chair, Mrs. Perez, and I called your office several times. There was no answer. Somehow make a meeting with you if my supervisor is staying away.
Thank you for your call, sir.
I expect you to do something, please. Not just send me for speaking. Not just send me for speaking. I would like you to stop this torture. This is terrible.
Ryan, are you aware of whether we have had a member of our MET team or somebody from our Department of Behavioral Health to look into these allegations, see if there's anything warranted by them? I do not believe it is the jurisdiction of the Kern County Board of Supervisors to investigate torture or allegations thereof. But I'm curious if we have had an opportunity to intervene with this gentleman and get him some help.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the board, I believe the Sheriff's Department has been involved with this individual, also with the involvement or in partnership with behavioral health employees.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And I'm assuming that they have investigated allegations of torture, which are obviously serious. And I would hope that somebody would check out this gentleman and see if he's okay.
Yeah, I don't think that this gentleman has been ignored altogether. I think that there's been some interaction, and I trust that the folks at Behavioral Health Recovery Services, along with the Sheriff's Department, are acting accordingly.
I really appreciate that. This gentleman sounds like he is in distress and believes that he's being targeted somehow. I don't know if that is true or not having seen any of the evidence or investigated it myself, but certainly it seems a follow-up here is warranted, and thank you for that update, and I'll talk to the sheriff about it as well. Kathy, thank you. Do we have anybody else?
Madam Chair, could I comment on that?
Please do, Supervisor Macker.
Thank you. I believe that the Sheriff's Department has responded to Mr. Schaefer before, and also I think the mental health, behavioral health has. But maybe we could ask them to pay him a visit once again. Mm-hmm. He is certain that some officials in the government and otherwise have placed chips inside of him, and it is a very convoluted explanation that he gives, but I think it would be helpful to have somebody just do one more check on him and see if that's, he was not satisfied with their interaction with him the last time.
Certainly.
Will do.
Thank you so very much, Ryan. I really appreciate that. Kathy, what do we have? Thank you, Supervisor Macker.
That concludes public presentations.
Okay, and nothing else in writing, nobody waiting on the line.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to move to board member announcements or reports. We also have Supervisors Gleason and Couch on the phone. Do you two gentlemen have an announcement you'd like to make at this time?
District 1, no.
Thank you, Mick.
I do not.
Okay, thank you, David. Supervisors Mike Maggard, Supervisor Maggard and Scrivener. No thanks.
No,
Got it.
thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we're going to move right along then to item number 4, which is a response to October 6, 2020 board referral for a report on large-scale commercial solar historic property tax revenue and legislative exclusion. Director Oviatt, I understand you are teed up. We have received your report. We appreciate the illumination that it provides to this county and your department and to the state, of course, given our profound role in California's energy portfolio. And thank you for your leadership on this matter and for helping us to understand the implications for local government much better. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Perez, members of the board. I'm here today with Craig Murphy, Assistant Director. This matter is a response, as noted, to your board's referral on October 6th, 2020 to report on the legislative tax exclusion from property tax payment on large-scale commercial solar projects. This report was prepared with John Lifquist, assessor, and his staff, and the CAO Ryan Alsop and his staff, Thomas Brown. To clarify this, the focus of this is only on large-scale commercial solar that requires a power purchase agreement and generates electricity for the California grid. It does not focus on on-site uses. This type of land use requires a conditional use permit and review under the California Environmental Quality Act before consideration at a public hearing. There are no automatic land use permits for these specific types of solar projects. As a member of the Economic Development Team in partnership with the CAO, this is an opportunity to provide your board context for a transitional view of our future, and I appreciate this opportunity. Historically, our economy had a stable foundation of ag and oil industry revenues with additional retail and industrial uses. While the oil industry revenues did track with the overall economic fluctuation in oil prices and overall health of the economy, that was not unique to only Kern. So we always assumed that there would be this fluctuation in the overall international economy, agriculture, commodity prices, residential building. These are all things that we shared with other counties. And the focus of your board in the past to weather these fiscal declines in revenues, besides streamlining government, was to place an emphasis on job creation. Putting our people to work and the direct and indirect multipliers they create are critical to stable communities. However, it is now clear that communities with jobs and no services due to inadequate funding from government, due to state policy decisions, are not sustainable. And the state of California, in a variety of ways, continues to restrict and constrain the traditional property tax revenue, including sales tax, that the county relies on for serving our functions. And this is all directly related to land use. The state is definitively and clearly adopting policies to transition California to an economy that looks very different than the one we have designed. And while we have always navigated these opportunities successfully, the state's current focus has not taken into account the consequences of these policies on our local government service levels, and we need to address them locally. While the emphasis on jobs is important and will continue, our economic strategy should also now focus on the revenues to the general fund a new project will provide as we balance the compatibility of the project with our county future. So in the past, we have accepted those as, of course, they will come, and in the instance of this particular land use, that is not accurate. The California Franchise Tax Board's website outlines that a property tax incentive for the installation of an active solar energy system is in the form of a new construction exclusion. It is not an exemption from paying property taxes. It's just an exclusion that the installation of the qualifying solar energy system will not result in either an increase or a decrease in the assessment of the existing property. So the value of the underlying land and some improvements, such as operations and maintenance buildings, which we have very few of for these types of projects, and of course battery storage, the newest type of installation that the state is interested in, are assessed, but the solar panels and the majority of the equipment are not. In 2014, which was the original sunset date for the active solar energy system new construction exclusion, we thought it would be phased out, and instead it was extended through the 2023-24 fiscal year. So now the statute is scheduled to sunset on January 1st, 2025. These maps, and if you could also show the Central Valley, there are 36 existing projects encompassing over 36,000 acres of land. This does not include the over 100,000 acres of wind projects that we have. This is just commercial scale solar, 36,000 acres. The Kern County Assessor has provided the current assessed value on commercial scale solar projects, which includes the value of the land, operation and maintenance buildings, and the few components that are accessible. While battery storage projects will be assessed, we don't have those built yet. They're all in the planning stages. And so, though most solar is excluded by law, the assessor's office does track the value and has provided an estimate of value. So I'd like to review those findings. Mr. Murphy? Currently, on the value of the land only and whatever operations and maintenance buildings exist, the estimated annual county general fund revenue is $1.5 million. That is how much these existing projects on 36,000 acres provide. If they were assessed on their equipment, there would be an additional $19.9 million a year for the county revenue for the general fund. We did not do any analysis of school districts or any analysis for special districts. This is specifically only the funding for the general fund, which includes the fire fund, includes the percentage that is that is not assessed to us, and we have also assessed over the last 10 years, based on when the projects came into operation, an estimated loss to the general fund of $103 million. So while the jobs of commercial scale solar, which was over 8,000 or 9,000 jobs that were produced by all of these, put people to work during our last recession, the loss of this property tax revenue has been devastating. We do appreciate that these individual companies have provided to communities good neighbor voluntary contributions for a variety of things. But I'd like to point out that all businesses in Kern County act as good neighbors. Another bright spot was the one-time sales tax on equipment that the county received based on our point of sale, but a bill signed of the governor has cut that by 50%. We are working hard to attract new types of industry and diversify our economy, but it's not clear that there will be a legislative relief for this situation. So I'd like to put this into two categories. The first category is our existing projects, our existing and approved projects. Because of other legal ramifications, there is no way to increase the amount that we receive from those projects. Unless the legislature removes the tax exclusion in 2025, there is no way to touch those projects. So what will they be providing? Well, they will be continuing to provide the impact amount that's in their environmental impact reports. It's divided between fire, sheriff, and countywide protection, and it generates a little over $1 million a year. So they will all be providing that on top of their assessments. In addition, the projects that are not constructed, that are moving into construction, which should provide construction jobs for at least another 2 to 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, those projects will pay the sales tax, however, will be discounted at 50%. So the second category that we want to talk about is the issue of future projects. So we have had a number of conversations with the solar industry, but we are here today to tell you they have produced no immediate solutions. There's no industry-wide commitment to phase out the exclusion after 2024. So we are recommending that today that you direct us to move forward with a local solution, but of course we will continue to talk on these long-term solutions with Sacramento. However, we are recommending that we do not count on them. The department is currently processing 10 large-scale solar projects totaling over another 27,000 acres, with potential benefits to the rest of California of 4,600 megawatts of electricity, with over 6,500 megawatt hours of battery storage. There is no other county or city in California that has this many projects or this large a contribution to the goals of California. The projects in this process require environmental impact reports and a public hearing process. Staff will be reviewing them for this issue, making recommendations on each individual project for your board's consideration, and making recommendations to resolve this inequity of funding. These individual projects would therefore come before your board through a public process, providing the applicants an opportunity to voice their support or objections, to look at the methodology, and your board would be the final say on either the approval or disapproval of these conditional use permits. I would like to note that I have sent this board letter out and communicated with all of the companies that have projects in process. They are fully informed and we're in a dialogue. One company, S-Power, Sustainable Power Group, has provided you a written comment. They currently own and operate a large-scale project in the Valley area, and they have one in process in Eastern Kern, and we do appreciate their ongoing support of the community through their voluntary contributions. However, their letter references approximately $3 million in taxes that their unapproved project would provide. That's actually over 20 years, and if this unapproved project paid the appropriate amount for the general fund, it would actually be $25 million for the same time frame. The other reference benefits are not clearly for Kern County, since employees who work in the solar industry actually mostly live and shop, not in Kern County, but in the Antelope Valley in Lancaster and Palmdale. Some commute even further in LA County. So I would just like your board to take the statements of benefits from the S-Power into appropriate consideration. With this administration's recent directives, including a new focus to conserve at least 30% of California land and coastal waters by 2030, the use of our private land needs to be carefully balanced with both jobs and revenue to the general fund. We cannot continue to sacrifice our communities for the policies of Sacramento to benefit the rest of California. I would like to note that Shannon Eddy of the Large Scale Solar Association has collaborated with us over the years on a variety of solar industry issues, and we do appreciate her partnership and admiration for Kern County. She is on the line to address your board on this matter, and I would also ask if the CAO, Ryan Alsop, has any comments. This completes my presentation, and we are available for questions and are ready with a recommendation.
Excellent. Director Oviatt, thank you for your thorough report. Mr. Alsop, you had indicated before you thought this was the most important thing that we would do in recent memory and moving forward. So I appreciate the context of this matter being one in which we need to move to resolution and think about doing so in perpetuity. So I'd like to hear your thoughts, and I appreciate your role in this matter and demonstrating that it's something we need to figure out. Ryan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. I won't be long, but I do want to thank our Director of Planning and Natural Resources, Ms. Oviatt, and her team for the work. I'd like to thank Mr. Lifquist for all of his expertise and contributions and work, my staff, Thomas Brown. I will reiterate that this will be the most important issue, a business decision for this county, this board, for the planning department. I think in recent memory, there's a considerable amount of revenue and support for county services that provide critical quality of life, public safety related services to the residents of this county. The efficacy and scope of those services are at stake here. And I am in full support of all of the work that's being done on this by our Director of Planning. And we hope, my office hopes to proceed and resolve these issues in the coming months.
Ryan, thank you very much. Director Oviatt, do you want us to go to the caller, to the board? Okay, got it. Are you present and ready to address us? We're certainly eager to hear from you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Miss Eddy?
All right. This is Shannon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Oh, thank you. I've been disconnected twice since I joined, so if I disappear suddenly, I'll do my best to call back in.
Got it.
My name is Shannon Eddy. Lorelei, thanks for the intro. I am the Executive Director of the Large Scale Solar Association. We are a trade group that was founded in 2008, and we represent the owners and developers of utility scale solar projects. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I'm sorry that we were not able to convene and discuss this in person, as I'm sure we all are. So I will say I'm happy to be speaking on the heels of Kern's recent Energy Summit to talk about the history of solar energy and the county. I want to start by thanking Lorelei and the Board of Supervisors and your staff for your really tremendous leadership in siting solar projects over the last 10 years. Together, the county and our industry have given rise to more than 70 operating projects in Kern County. I know that differs a little bit from your 36, and we should talk about the metrics there. But all of the projects have really garnered millions of dollars in new revenues. And what I'd like to talk about today is the solar economic report, and also to provide some context about the solar partial property tax exclusion in an effort to deepen our collective understanding about why and how it was conceived and why it continues to be important today. And I'll also offer some recommendations as we work together to consider some of our next steps here. First, I think it's important to understand a little bit about the history here. When solar's tax exclusion was first approved by the voters in 1980, the policymakers were aiming to level the playing field between gas plants and solar projects. Nearly 95% of the gas that fuels California's plants is extracted out of state. And that means California doesn't profit from the fuel collection phase of the gas power production cycle. So seeing this, the policymakers worked to replicate this for solar by exempting from property tax assessment the fuel collection part of the solar cycle. And in this case, that means the mirrors and the PV panels. And they left the remainder of the power of the solar plants, the power block, inverter, and things like that, all taxable at regular rates. That is a tax structure that still stands today and puts property taxes paid by solar on par with those paid by natural gas plants. This exclusion has played a critical role in the build out of solar throughout the state, and without it, it's highly unlikely we would have the amount of solar online that we do now. And I think if I have a critique about the report from the county, I think it's that the report fails to recognize this. And I think another key element missing from the report is quantification of the benefits conveyed by these projects. Knowing that the county was putting this together, we decided to commission our own analysis of the revenues and some of the other economic gains that Kern has received from the solar projects. It's not finished yet, it's still in progress. But based on the preliminary findings since 2009, and again, this is based on 70 projects, not 36, and I want to do a true up with some of the numbers here. We might be using some of the smaller projects. But based on our numbers, it looks like Kern has received somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million in sales and use tax revenues, $13 million in property tax revenues. And the job creation is fairly significant. If you're counting direct and indirect jobs, it's somewhere between 30 and 50 million, 30 and 50,000 jobs, and more than $1 billion in labor income. So this is where we have some concerns and questions about the premise of the county report, particularly the claim of detrimental economic impacts from the projects. In truth, these are solar projects that pay more in property taxes than the county would have otherwise received from the agricultural and desert lands on which many of these projects are built. Beyond that, I think it's accurate to say that the solar industry provides a significant source of revenue for the county and really has bolstered Kern's workforce, which is a trend projected to continue based on the 4,600 megawatts of solar in Kern's permitting pipeline. These are projects that'll bring millions of dollars in revenue and thousands of new jobs to Kern. Moving forward with that project pipeline without disruption or unexpected fees is critical, not only to state reliability and clean energy goals, but also to the county's economic well-being as we all fight to turn around the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We understand that Kern and other counties are facing some real fiscal uncertainties right now, and we see solar development as an important part of that solution. To that end, we just ask that if and as the county develops new policies that are related to our sector, that you consider us partners and involve us in the discussions before rolling out any new fees or taxes so that together we can arrive at policies that both support the county and at the same time provide clear, viable permitting pathways for the industry. I'm more than confident that we can find a path forward that benefits all parties, and I look forward to working with you all. I think it's fair to say that you're guided very well by Lorelei, who's just done a tremendous job on solar for the last many years here, and we look forward to next steps. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Director Oviatt, I don't know if now is the time to flesh out what the job creation for Kern County has really been like. As a person who has worked for a decade putting workers from Kern County, either as they transition from the oil fields into this industry, we certainly have an expertise that I'm happy to flesh out, because I do not believe that it is what it is being presented as for Kern County. And that is really part of the struggle, part of the challenge. We are grateful utterly for the revenue and the jobs, but it is much more nuanced and complicated that has been presented today. So I'll wait to explore that issue when you think it's right. For now, I'm going to go to Supervisor Zaxman. Do that now.
We have one more public comment on this item.
Got it.
Michael Turnipseed, Kern County Taxpayers Association. Mr. Turnipseed, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you may address the board.
Good afternoon. This is Michael Turnipseed, Kern County Taxpayers Association. We have certainly reviewed the staff report, and we've been talking about this issue for a long time. We have many members who are deeply involved in the energy business of Kern County, and they know what their tax bills are and what their values are. And it certainly is an issue of one of our principles that taxes need to be fair. And it's certainly not from a fair share point of view. The commercial solar does not appear to be paying anywhere near a fair share what other homeowners, commercial, industrial, people pay for their property and property taxes. And we have certainly seen over the last 7 years what happens to our economy. And when you look at back just in the long-term effects of the oil price drop of 15, and you extend that out because oil hasn't recovered while the rest of the economy has been growing at a slight rate. You telegraph that rate out for a number of years, and we're losing, say, close to $30 million a year in property tax. Let's say $30 billion, yeah. Anyway, the county share of that's a sizable amount, and I pulled that number out to get on the phone here. But I think it's pretty critical that over the long period of time, when you look at what we've lost, and won't be recovering, it looks like, for any time in the foreseeable future, oil revenues for the property tax, and what we haven't been collecting in solar over the years because of exemptions. These aren't mom and pop restaurants we're talking about here. The solar companies are multi-billion-dollar corporations, most of them not headquartered in California. And the state of California, in the last time that I heard, we present over half the production of renewable energy in the state of California to help the state attain its goals. And yet, in the meantime, I also read somewhere last week, and Lorelei can confirm this for me, that I think there are 8 counties that have so significant solar that are not permitting any more solar because of the lack of revenue. This is really a point in the sand, I think, a point line in the sand for Kern County, and I think the board really has to figure out where you're going to get the revenue to feed your county budget and the demands of a growing population. And I think solar definitely is on the top of that list because they're certainly not paying what most of us think is a fair property tax.
Thank you for your call, Mr. Turnipseed. We're going to turn the floor over to Supervisor Zach Scribner, who has an intimacy with this matter due to the vast majority of this work being done in your district. You've been an excellent partner and real proof that good policies being pushed from Sacramento can thrive in a county like Kern when you have good leaders who are open to great directors like Director Oviatt. So hats off, Zach, to the success of your district in developing these relationships and being a place where we can really thrive as a county on this in this industry. So really, the floor is yours, and I want to thank you for your role in making sure this industry has thrived in Kern County.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's very kind of you to say. And I do have, I'm sure, the most solar of any district in Kern County, but probably more than any supervisorial district in the state, if I had to guess. And so I know these companies very well, and I appreciate them very much for the large investments that they've made in our county. And so I want to preface this conversation by talking about what great partners they've been in a lot of ways in providing jobs and in supporting different community organizations in the towns in which they around which they built their projects. And so we do appreciate them. And so I don't look at this as a criticism of the solar industry. The solar industry did what a lot of industries do, and they tried to get the best deal that they could from the state from a policy perspective. As Ms. Oviatt indicated, this exclusion was originally meant for rooftop solar on residential, but the solar industry successfully lobbied the state to get this exclusion until 2014. And so when we were in the midst of approving these projects, we were under the assumption that that exemption would expire in 2014. Like many incentives are designed to do, you help an industry become established, and then they taper off and are eventually ended. But this didn't happen in this case. This was extended another 10 years. And so here we are in the face of being attacked by Governor Newsom for our oil industry. Our industry's been attacked. I mean, basically, he's signaled that he wants an end to the oil industry in California, which makes no sense whatsoever when the only alternative is to get your oil from countries like Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Ecuador, others that have terrible human rights records and even worse environmental policies. And so we get no significant credit, so to speak, from the governor for helping the state to achieve its green energy goals. We've done more than any county in the state of California to help the state achieve its green energy goals, but rather than thank Kern County, instead Newsom attacks us, attacks our most important industry from a tax-based perspective when it comes to the oil industry. And so that's what prompted this referral. It's not about the solar companies treating us unfairly. They're just operating in an environment just like any business would do, taking advantage of tax opportunities that are allowed to them by state law. No, this is really more about the state of California and how they've been continually stomping on the back of Kern County from an economic perspective for a long, long time. I'd like to ask Mr. Lifquist to come forward, if you would. I want to thank you very much for your office's work in helping to develop this referral. As far as the information is concerned, you did a lot of work for us, and so good afternoon, sir. It's good to have you here. I want to ask you, first of all, Governor Newsom has a premise that the oil industry in Kern County and the state of California can be replaced by green energy jobs and green energy tax revenues. From your perspective, how valid is that assertion?
Well, obviously not with solar being excluded.
Right.
But our green energy is significant. We have the most wind and solar in the state, but nonetheless, it doesn't compare to oil.
And so we as a county, if we're expected to continue to keep our libraries open, our sheriff deputies on the street, our fire stations staffed, what we've been told is that you need to diversify your economy. You need to move away from the oil industry. You need to diversify your economy. But obviously, when you have this exclusion from the solar energy industry, that premise is false, and I don't think that it's achievable. What would you say? I mean, you're the one that keeps track of all of our property tax rolls.
Well, I would say that we are the most diversified county in the state. We have the highest oil roll, significantly higher than any other county. We have significantly more solar. We have significantly more wind. So, increasing the diversification, we're as diverse as you can be.
We are, but we're not getting the benefits from one of the major industries right now because of the tax exemption. And I want folks to understand that from my perspective, we're in all of the above county when it comes to energy. We love our wind industry, we love our solar industry, we love our oil industry, and then we're also looking very seriously at other types of opportunities when it comes to sequestration, et cetera. And so I think that the real crossroads that we've reached here at this point is how are we going to be expected to continue to pay for our vital public services with this exemption still in place. And so lacking a solution that the state of California will provide through the governor's office, specifically about this exclusion, we are going to have to, I believe, pursue a local solution. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, is making a referral to Ms. Oviatt to start to come up with some other solutions so we can keep our libraries open, our sheriff's deputies on the street protecting the public, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add. I know you worked hard on this along with your staff. If you'd like to add anything else before I go to Mr. Alsop and Ms. Oviatt.
I see Ms. Oviatt raising her hand.
Supervisor Scrivener, I actually have a question that I was hoping Mr.
Thank you.
Lifquist. I understand that we also have probably the most gas power plants, La Paloma and these other plants. They are also slated to be closed and go out of production. Do they provide significant property tax revenue?
They do, certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lifquist. Really appreciate your help.
Thank you, Supervisor.
You too.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Alsop, the estimate through the work of Mr. Lifquist's office and Ms. Oviatt, and also Thomas Brown in your office, as you referenced, estimates that the annual loss of property taxes to the general fund because of this state exemption is in the neighborhood of $20 million a year. How much of a game changer would that be for us from a budgetary standpoint? We have just gone through multiple years of having to make cuts between the downturn in the oil industry because of the attacks from Sacramento, along with market forces. And now we're in the midst of an economic downturn due to COVID. How much of a game changer do you believe that is for the county's ability to provide the services that our taxpayers expect and deserve.
Supervisor Scribner, through the chair, $20 million in additional discretionary revenue each year is a game changer. That is money that can be invested into our community to ensure that the residents of Kern County are receiving the quality level of services that they not only expect, but deserve. And so it would be significant. I do want to point out, and you had mentioned it earlier, that the $20 million figure is what's being paid for this exclusion. The assessment exclusion on this industry, the industry is enjoying this exclusion. You said yourself, if we were in the solar business, we would be trying to get the best deal that we can. But this was something that was implemented by the state for this industry. The state's not paying for it. The industry is certainly not paying for it. The end users of these green electrons at the end of the day are not paying for it. In fact, they're benefiting from the payment that is being made on a daily basis by the residents of this county. Those payments are being made through decreased library hours. It's being paid for by fewer sheriffs on the streets than we actually need. It's being paid for by huge backlogs in equipment purchases that are needed for our fire department. It's being paid for through a number of different avenues to the tune of about $20 million a year.
Thank you, Mr. Alsop. Lastly, what I'd like to point out is I do believe as we move forward on this, Ms. Oviatt, is that we enter into this, and I know that you did, but we continue to have a spirit of collaboration with the industry as we try to come up with a solution. There are different projects that have different circumstances. Some have power purchase agreements that are already in place, others don't. Mr. Alsop, he mentioned these green electrons and the fact that they are right now in some respect, maybe to a large extent, being subsidized by the County of Kern. But this power is going to Southern California. It's going to Northern California. This would not be, if we do find a way to rectify this, something that would be paid for by our own residents. These would be paid for folks that live in Southern California or Northern California that probably never thought about Kern County. They don't know where this energy is being produced, but it is being produced here, and I think that it's time for us to truly address the inequity, I think, that has been occurring between state policy and those of us here in Kern County that have for a long time had an industry in the oil industry that's helped support county services to a great extent. We do it the cleanest and the safest of anywhere in the world, but instead of recognizing that, Sacramento, chiefly Governor Newsom, continues to attack this industry, and the result is going to be to send more and more of our dollars, our local dollars, as a state to countries like Saudi Arabia and Ecuador and others that don't like us very much, and certainly don't take care of the environment or take care of their own people the way in which we do here. But I think that our solar industry wants to be a part of the solution, and so as we move forward, I welcome that partnership, and once again, truly appreciate their investment in our county. They haven't done anything wrong. They're only doing what any shrewd business does, which is try to take advantage of opportunities that are available to them. But that advantage right now with this tax exclusion obviously has impacted our county significantly, and I think we need to fix it as soon as possible. So thank you, Madam Chair, very much. That will conclude my comments.
Supervisor Scribner, thank you. You know, Lorelei, you know, often when I travel the state and talk about Kern County's role in helping California lead the world, literally, and I think that's something to have great pride about in having an energy portfolio that is largely sustainable moving into the future, that is affordable, that is hopeful, California has led in that, and that is something that I think is incredibly promising. Our renewable industry is a pride of Kern County for me. I brag about it everywhere I go. According to USA Today, we are the #1 county in the United States of America for renewable capacity. That's transmission, that's siting, that's permitting, that's relationship with the CEC, that's the shrewdness of a planning department doing this kind of work in the hardest state to do it in the union. Kern County has made that happen with a remarkable partnership, $56 billion in 12 years from our renewable partners. And they are a pride for me. It is a pride for Kern County. Our reality is that I remember joining this board, Lorelei, the oil industry revenues were 1/3 of our discretionary revenue. 1/3. And as we look now, it is profoundly lower, significantly lower than what it has been before, and I mean by 2/3. And that is our reality in local government, that we have to re-envision how we will continue being a partner with the state, continue developing our incredible partnership with renewables, of which I personally and I know Kern County is so proud of. But this is a good time to have this conversation. I have every reason to believe that our partners in renewable understand the challenges that we're in and appreciate the role that Kern County has played in putting renewables on the map in California. There is no renewable portfolio standard for California without Kern County. It doesn't exist. And because of our long-term thinking on the permitting side, on the planning side, really, it is so remarkable what our planning department has done. Take Los Angeles County, our brothers and sisters down south, they banned wind a few years ago. And they certainly like to talk a big game about the job Kern County should be doing. And here we are providing energy to the country and beyond. I think that's pretty astonishing. And Kern County deserves a whole lot of credit and a whole lot of grace as we, make the market forces work for some of the poorest people in America. So this is a serious issue for us on so many levels. And it is one in which I feel very good and very positive that we're going to move towards a real resolution that continues to encourage the development here in Kern County. I promise you, nowhere else in California can do what we're doing for some time, and it is arguably, will not be within the foreseeable future. So we are a player here. We are hopeful, but we are also needing to take this very seriously. So to all the people involved, thank you. Director Oviatt, Supervisor Maverick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I cannot improve upon the compelling clarity and logic of Supervisor Scrivener's comments that he made, but I can stand next to him in committing my resources and efforts to pursue the same end, that we make this fair and that we can continue to take care of the needs of California, but that we can be treated fairly while we do it. So thank you for your leadership on this, and I'm happy to be supportive.
Very good. Zach, did you make a motion?
I have not yet,
okay.
Madam Chair, and I don't know if Supervisor Gleason and or Couch have comments, but I would be happy to make the motion to receive and file, and I believe, Ms. Oviatt, you're looking for direction to continue to develop a solution in collaboration and partnership with our friends in the solar industry. Is that sufficient as far as direction for you?
Supervisor Scrivener, through the chair, it is, but I do want to be clear that we are proposing to bring these remedies through these individual projects. I am not proposing to come up with one overarching solution. I certainly will work with the solar industry, but I will be working with those individual project proponents. They are the investors. They are the ones who have done that. So I just want to be clear that we are not proposing to bring you one overarching solution that may include people who have never invested in Kern County but who have an opinion. I believe that your direction is for us to work with the people who have invested in Kern County, who are interested in Kern County, and who have some commitment here.
Absolutely, and those are the folks that have been great partners up to this point, and who we look forward to working with in the future. Thank you, Madam Chair. That is my motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Supervisor Couch, do you have any comments?
I concur.
Okay. So and I heard from Supervisor Gleason, he seconded that motion for the public's benefit. He provided some input there, and I am ready to proceed. Again, thank you, Director Oviatt. Thank you to our renewable partners who have been, remarkable investors and believers in Kern, and you have over-delivered in that relationship, which makes me feel good and gives me lots to brag about and feel good about. So I'm, again, hopeful that we're going to make this better than it's ever been, and that we will help the state understand the kind of job creation that occurs here. It is important, like every job that's created. It is not an $80,000 a year oil and gas job. It won't be, I don't think, in the foreseeable future, certainly not in my lifetime. But certainly there are many factors that we weigh in as policymakers. The environment is one, the people is one, politics are always present. So we get that we wear different hats here, but we feel good about our partnership there and working towards a solution. So thank you. I will entertain a roll call vote.
Supervisor Gleason?
Yes.
Supervisor Scrivener?
Aye.
Supervisor Maggard?
Aye.
Supervisor Couch?
Yes.
Supervisor Perez?
Yes.
Motion approves, all ayes.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along to our final item number 7 that was pulled from consent. It's a request for a determination of a public convenience by Grocery Outlet, Inc., by Compass Commercial for the issuance of an off-sale beer and wine package store license in a C2 PT district located at 2536 Rosamond Boulevard, Rosamond.
Chairman,
Lorelei, yeah.
Thank you. Chairman Perez, members of the board. This is a request for a type 20, which is beer and wine only, package store license for a grocery store, Grocery Outlet. It is located in an already improved project. For those of you who are not as completely familiar with the unincorporated community of Rosamond and Eastern Kern, this is the downtown commercial core of services for the unincorporated community of 20,000 people. It is, as I noted, a beer and wine off-sale license, and you are being asked to make a determination of public convenience or necessity. The final decision would be at the state alcohol and beverage control. As noticed, this particular census tract actually has not had any public convenience request since the original legislation in 1994. So whatever sales are being done have already existed. The ABC has specified that the ratio would allow 5 off-sale for 5 off-sale liquor licenses and 5 on-sale within the census tract. Approval of this type 20 would bring us to 4 off-sale and 4 on-sale. We would note that a grocery store, which is what Grocery Outlet is the appropriate place for these types of sales. And we have provided you with an addendum staff report that includes some comments that we've received on this item. So first, we have received a comment from Finley Arnold, who is an attorney representing Citizens for a Safer Rosamond, and from the United Food and Commercial Workers International Union. In addition, we have provided you with an email from Mr. Wessel, which is in support of this. He also happens to be a real estate broker in the area. These comments, the 2 comments, express concerns related to the proposed construction and operation of a grocery outlet, including the potential environmental impacts associated, and are asking your board not to take action on this. We have provided you with an addendum to remind the public and to respond to these comments that this project has already been approved. Your board is not approving a grocery outlet grocery store today. Any action taken by your board today on the ABC license would be completed by the state. You are not actually granting them a liquor license for beer and wine. You are instead saying that we believe it is a public necessity and appropriate for this grocery store. This is this project was approved with a precise development plan and used the Rosamond Specific Plan Environmental Impact Report. All of the impacts for this shopping center, of which this grocery outlet is only part of it, was reviewed by the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council. They had no comments or objections. We received no objections. No comments were received from this self-labeled group, Citizens for a Safer Rosamond, and we are unfamiliar with this group. But after satisfying all the conditions, they have been issued a grading permit. In September, grading has started on the shopping center. In addition, that PD plan was not appealed during the 14 days, and therefore your board did not consider it. It is now final. Then no changes can be made to this project, and the grocery outlet is approved. In regards to the United Food and Commercial Workers International Union, they have asked that you delay this project for a full and comprehensive economic impact analysis so that you can and the public can know the impacts this will have on the community. For the record, we would like to point out that we have one full-service grocery store for a population of over 20,000 residents. This community is on the boundary with Los Angeles County, and we have serious sales tax leakage as the majority of the residents travel the 11 miles to Lancaster or 21 miles to Palmdale to shop, since there is only one grocery store. There is no evidence that that grocery store, Albertsons, which is across the street, has a significant crime problem, and they actually sell hard liquor as well as beer and wine. And so we have no evidence in the record of the impacts that have been alleged in either one of these letters. And we believe that the economic benefits, this particular grocery outlet has no incentives from your board. They will pay full property taxes to the general fund, the Rosamond Community Services District, as well as to the school district. Therefore, we will be accepting all these comments, including them in the record, have provided them to your board, but staff continues to recommend approval of this license as consistent with your board's policies. That completes our presentation.
Very good. Zach, this is your district?
Do we have, thank you, Madam Chair. Do we have any public comment, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have Katie Shard, I believe, representing Grocery Outlet. Ms. Shard, if you would like to unmute your phone by pressing *6, you may address the board.
This is Katie Shard, and I am representing Grocery Outlet. I do handle their alcohol licensing throughout the state of California. I would like to thank the director for that very thorough presentation. I don't have anything to add. I would like to state that if your board has any questions for me or Grocery Outlet, I am here this afternoon with some representatives of Grocery Outlet. Other than that, I think everything has been said. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Chair, if you believe it's appropriate, I'll make a motion on staff's recommendation this time.
I do. Thank you. Not hearing any comment or receiving messages from Supervisors Couch and Gleason, then I'll entertain a second. Supervisor Maggard?
Happy to second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gleason?
Aye.
Supervisor Scribner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maggard?
Aye.
Supervisor Couch?
Yes.
Supervisor Perez?
Yes, thank you so much.
Motion carried, all ayes.
Okay, thank you very much. This brings us to the end of our afternoon agenda. We will adjourn to Monday, December 14, 2020 at 9 a.m. It'll be my last board session, Kathy.
Actually, second to the last. Closed session on Monday for department head evaluations, board meeting, regular 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. board session on Tuesday the 15th.
That's why you're the boss.
There we go.
Thank you. Oh, that's right. Supervisor Maggard, thank you for your motion to adjourn. All done.